We're back here on the program, Jones and I beg your pardon, this is the platform today. And we're speaking with Mr. Fred Smith, who resides in Grand Bahama, but he's the senior partner in Calendars & Co. And Calendars & Co., his name has also been called in the House of Assembly with respect to what you're doing, Save the Bays, eh? But we were talking about Mr. Nygaard and what he was doing or seeking to do at Nygaard Key. He bought the property about 40 years ago?
1984.
1984, okay. And he has applied to the government for permission to rebuild his home that was destroyed by fire. I believe you told me on a previous program that you have no difficulty with that, with his rebuilding his home.
No, that's not correct. Nygaard has made various applications which we don't know the nature of. That was the problem that he faced and the regulatory agencies faced in 2014 when they wanted to undertake the consultation exercise to consider giving him permits. The Supreme Court issued an injunction saying that until you make discovery, until a proper consultation exercise occurs, Mr. Nygaard is not to do anything on that property, and you're not to give any permits. Most recently, he was given permits to dredge by the Director of Physical Planning, and the Supreme Court just held the director to have been in contempt for having done so in breach of the court's injunctions. And there are further hearings going on now in regard to Mr. Nygaard and Mr. Code-Smith's contempt in dredging and Mr. Code-Smith's contempt of the Supreme Court. Those are all matters before the court, which I'm not going to
but they claim
on.
that they were not dredging and they were clearing out a boat basin.
No, they claimed they were dredging and they got a permit. He applied for a permit and he was given a permit.
To clear the boat basin?
No, it wasn't. It was in whatever the injunction, the permit was for or not for. The simple fact is that it was issued contrary to the injunction issued by the Supreme Court. You see, in the Bahamas, and this is what Save the Bays is all about, there has to be some recognition of some authority, some supervening authority that runs the show. And that is the Supreme Court and the rule of law. The politicians who have different agendas or different objectives at different times, depending on which party they're in, ordinary people and businessmen, everybody has all kinds of objectives which they seek to achieve. And the one place where it is independent, it is impartial, is the Supreme Court. And that's where we go to have issues resolved. So what I don't understand, Mr. Jones, I don't understand how the case that we brought against Mr. Nygaard and Mr. Code-Smith for the almost 2.5 years of harassment, which included this, these allegations of plotting to murder us, how that became transformed into an attack by the government about Save the Bays being a political organization to destabilize democracy in the Bahamas.
But
What's that got to do? What
Smith,
does that have to do with
Smith,
our case against Peter Nygaard?
Mr. Smith, if you have the national chairman of a party and a senator present when two young men are making these allegations, you Save the Bays got them to produce an affidavit. And in that affidavit, they make certain allegations. And in that affidavit, they claim that they were paid to say these things about about the murder plot and all of these type things.
You and I are not going to go into the evidential details of this case because it is before the Supreme Court and it is not proper for us to do that.
Yes, but it's a matter of an affidavit that was released by the Supreme Court. it's filed in the registry.
Yes, it is.
The media got copies of it.
Yes.
And we see the allegations
So
in the
what is-
affidavit.
and what I'm saying
You
to
have a
you-
senator who was resigned over it, the national chairman
No,
of
the
the
senator
FNM.
didn't resign over that.
Well,
the senator
that
resigned
precipitated
because,
the
no, the
resignation.
senator resigned.
It precipitated the
because
resignation, didn't it?
all of this confusion was generated in Parliament on issues totally unrelated to the case which we had against Mr. Nygaard.
The senator
So-
was a consultant for Save the Bays.
No, he wasn't a consultant for Save the Bays.
Well, a consultant for calendars then?
I am not going into the details of this right now because it is not appropriate
No,
to do so.
it's important though.
No, it might
we
be
need
important.
to put things in context.
You can put them in context. And there will come a day in the Supreme Court where everybody can sit in the gallery and they can listen to the evidence, they can watch the witnesses, the court's going to determine their credibility or truthfulness, and the truth will out. And a judge will make a decision.
Mr.
But for
Smith,
the time
if
being,
two young men accused Nygaard and Code Smith of a plot, and they have both denied this, why didn't you go to the police?
There's no-
you are a
There's
a
no-
senior lawyer in the Bahamas. You are a QC.
correct.
You are leading one of the leading law firms in this country.
Correct.
Why didn't you go directly to the police and say that there is a plot to murder me?
Mr.
Why didn't you do
Jones,
that?
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
from February of 2015, we wrote extensively to the Commissioner of Police, and we outlined historical harassment campaign. And wait
Did
one
you
second.
complain about
No,
murder?
No.
Or an attempt to
we
murder?
complained about threats of harm. We complained about threats to ourselves. We complained about the harassment. We complained about the hate rallies. And at that stage, as the affidavits reflect, and I'm not going to go into the details, I'm just going to say what they reflected. We were conducting our investigations to determine the strength or otherwise of this. And we continued to write to the police 5 subsequent times. Mr. Joe Darville, Diane Phillips, and myself, Vanessa Benjamin, met with the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Stephen Seymour, and we asked for assistance. We spent several hours at police headquarters, I believe in August of 2015. And so, our complaint was that this is part of a harassment campaign that was born of Mr. Nygaard. We've never accused Code Smith of being involved in a murder plot against us. The papers don't say that. I believe you mentioned that a moment ago. That is not alleged in the papers. What we do allege is that for over 2.5 years, Mr. Peter Nygaard was involved in a campaign to terrorize us. And the murder plot was a part of that process. The fact that that man, would hire thousands of Bahamians, black Bahamians, to put on white Ku Klux Klan hoods and run up and down the street, even at Junkanoo, our national festival, to malign us and abuse us and have placards out about me being a Haitian infidel, and I should go back to Haiti, and we should deport Louis Bacon. All these things, we should not allow that kind of hatefulness to be promoted amongst ourselves.
Does
so,
Mr. Louis Bacon trace his ancestry to somebody from the Ku Klux Klan? Doesn't he do that?
No. This is something that Code Smith has been promoting. There's no business. Mr. Louis Bacon doesn't have any history in the Ku Klux Klan.
His grandfather?
And what, I don't know. But whatever his grandfather may have done 100 or 200 years ago, those are not sins that can be visited upon Mr. Bacon now. The sin that can be visited upon Mr. Nygaard is his current promotion of the Ku Klux Klan in the Bahamas. Peter Nygaard is promoting the Ku Klux Klan in the Bahamas.
In which way?
In which way? By dressing thousands of young black Bahamians in white hoods to run up and down the street pretending as if they're members of the Klan.
How do you know Mr. Nygaard was involved?
Oh, we have the evidence. We have, and in this court case, all will out.
Listen,
okay,
these 2 young men, Bullard and somebody else, the next name is what?
Togi and
Togi
Bobo, I
and
believe.
Bobo.
Yes.
Yeah. They gave contrasting 2 sets of affidavits. One to
So it is
Save the
alleged.
Bays. well, it's true.
No,
And
no.
another to Mr. Nygaard's lawyers.
No, no, no. You got it wrong. They did two different affidavits,
Yes.
one in Winnipeg and one in Nassau,
Right.
both to Mr. Nygaard's lawyers.
Yes.
And in the second one, they removed all reference to various politicians in there. And then Mr. Nygaard sought to use the second one, not the first one. So in the recent filings, what we did was produce the two of them.
So,
That's-
so you have three affidavits then.
So no, there's only
Two
two.
you said to Mr. Nygaard.
Two.
One they did for Save the Base. That's
no,
three.
No. There are many more affidavits than three.
Okay.
And what you're confusing is the two affidavits that they did for Mr. Nygaard's lawyers, in which Mr. Nygaard's lawyers told them to spice it up a bit. And the second one, in which they removed the Deputy Prime Minister's name and the Prime Minister's name. You see, I don't understand how the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister have gotten involved in this. We made no allegations against them. And so I don't understand what the investigation that the Prime Minister is calling for now. I don't understand what investigation the police are suddenly about.
Yeah, but the police must be about an investigation.
No.
If
I
in
made
an
a complaint.
affidavit
I-
you suggest
I
that there was a plot to
I ma-
harm you
I
and
made a-
harm other people.
I made a complaint.
And these two young men claim that you paid them
I made-
to give that kind of information.
No. I made a complaint to the police, along with a member of the people, from February of 2015, about a persistent and a consistent course of conduct by Peter Nygaard and Code Smith, in which he was terrorizing us.
Listen,
and the police did nothing until recently, when this whole thing came out in papers we filed voluntarily in the Supreme Court. I don't understand.
It is believed that Bobo and Tugi were being paid by both sides. That is an allegation.
Correct.
Do you trust them?
Do I trust them?
Yes.
I trust what they said to us, yes.
So,
And
you trust what they said to you, but you
Yes.
do not trust what they said to Nygaard's lawyers.
I don't. I think that there was pressure put upon them illicitly.
But
you're getting me.
But
you're getting
Fred
me now.
Smith,
No.
They do not claim.
You are.
They do not claim that they were paid by Nygaard's lawyers. They claim that they were paid by you.
No, they do claim that. But I am not going to get into discussing the evidence of this case because it's before the courts. You're not going to get me to do that. What I'd like to address is how perversely our emails, our private correspondence, Save the Bay's private financial information, suddenly became the topics of hot debate in Parliament. How all of our private information was used to terrorize my staff, messengers, secretaries, people working for Save the Bays, just calling their names in Parliament. You know, people like you and me, we have thick skin. People could call us whatever they want to from here to eternity. And we could sue for it, libel and defamation and slander and all these things. But a lot of people don't like having their names called. And this was psychological, political terrorism by Fred Mitchell and Jerome Fitzgerald against people
but these
who are
people
not in the public eye.
But they work for Save the Bays.
They don't work for Save the Bays. Most of them were employees of Calendars, ordinary secretaries, messenger.
I didn't hear their names called. I didn't hear their names called.
They call us whole
I
series
didn't hear
of
their
names.
names called. What I heard that you were being paid by Save the Bays, a substantial
I have
amount
never
of
been
money.
paid by Save the Bays.
Joe
I'm not an
Davalos-
employee of Save the Bays. I'm a director of Save the Bays. All right? And so I don't understand. See, I challenge Mr. Jerome Fitzgerald or Mr. Fred Mitchell or the Prime Minister, whoever, or Mr. Leslie Miller, whoever's talking about these documents, to please disclose the source of these documents. You see, everybody who works for Save the Bays and or Calendars is subject to a confidentiality agreement.
Tell me something.
And so
Why
even
did
if they
you-
receive, even if, and Fred Mitchell was saying, oh, he doesn't know how we got these, even if these were provided to them, they ought not to have made use of them.
One
And
of-
secondly,
one of the
they
th-
shouldn't have made use of them in Parliament, where we don't even have the opportunity to defend ourselves.
One of the things that you
I don't know
you are
what use
noted
they were
for,
putting them to.
you are noted for is freedom of information.
I am.
You want freedom of information
From
in
the
this
government.
country. Yeah, I know. Well, if you want freedom of information from the government, and since Save the Bays is an organization concerned about the environment and protecting the environment, then why would you have a difficulty in information of Save the Bays coming into the public domain? You took a matter to the Supreme Court to gag the press, really, from producing any information that Save the Bays would have. But you've been pushing for freedom of information. Isn't that duplicitous on your part? Isn't that the height of hypocrisy, Mr. Smith?
Mr. Jones.
That you would want information coming from the government and an organization like Save the Bays that the government says is seeking to discredit the government and to destabilize the country. You want no information coming from Save the Bays.
So, Mr. Jones, you're a journalist, correct?
40-odd years.
And a good one, a man of integrity.
Well,
and you deal with very, very hot, topical, political, and social issues every day.
Yeah.
And so you're in the heat of the debate. You bring people like myself on, politicians, society leaders, etc., to talk about all these issues. Mm. Now, you believe in freedom of information, do you not?
Yes.
Do you think it's appropriate for Jones Communications Network to be providing all of its private financial information for everyone to look at? Do I have a right to ask you about national insurance payments or business license act payments or how much your employees get paid?
No.
How much you get paid by GCN?
No, but
So what
Save
business-
the Bays
what-
that you claim is a political
how-
organization.
No, you're very political, Mr. Jones. You're extremely political. Everything you do is
Well, everything in the
pulled.
country is political.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
But Save the Bays, you
Correct.
say the objectives, you have political objectives. That's
No.
what you said.
No.
I didn't say that. You said that.
No.
And so since Save the Bays has political objectives, and you've been accused of destabilizing the government of
What
the
does
Bahamas.
destabilizing the government of Bahamas mean?
What do you
Are we
mean
some
what it
kind of
means?
terrorist organization? What does destabilizing the government of the Bahamas mean? Tell me what that means. Before we keep using these words, what does destabilizing the government of the
It
Bahamas
means that you've been throwing obstacles in the way of the government of the Bahamas to achieve certain ends in the interest of the Bahamian people. That is what it means.
That's very
Now, you
good.
understand that?
That's very
clear.
good. If we've been throwing obstacles in the way of the Bahamian government in the interests of the Bahamian people. I'm happy with that.
Yes, but the government
Now,
of the
what's wrong with
Bahamas,
that?
the government,
What's wrong
the
with that?
government is elected to protect the interest, to promote
No,
the
no, no, the
interests
government
of
is
the
not
Bahamian
elected.
people.
No, the
And
government-
you've been giving them all
Hell.
kind of.
I've been giving them
Yes.
hell.
Yes.
The government is not elected. Members of parliament are elected. This is where you and I always have this falling
yeah,
out.
we have a problem
The
with that.
government is not elected.
Yeah, I have a problem
You
with
see,
that.
the prime minister is not elected.
The
People
Prime
don't
Minister is
understand
the
that.
leader of the government.
No, you miss it. Members of parliament are individually elected to represent a constituency.
Yes.
And they then allow the government to be formed by way of the executive, and they choose who is a person that has the confidence of the majority of the members of parliament,
Yes.
right? You have the legislature, that's parliament. You have the judiciary, which is the courts, the
Yes,
Supreme Court.
yes.
And you have the executive.
Yes.
That forms the government.
Those are
Now,
three realms
it's
of
not
the
realms.
state.
It's not.
Yes,
They
they're
are
realms
not
of the
elected.
state.
So the government, you accept the government consists of three realms. Do you accept that? The government consists of three elements.
The government of the Bahamas is the cabinet of the Bahamas.
No, it's not.
And the prime minister forms a government. That is what the governor general calls on the prime minister to do after an election, to form a government.
Mr. Jones.
And the government is formed by appointing ministers. And ministers are considered the government of the Bahamas. Those who are backbenchers, they are supporters of the government.
Why are we having
the
this
prime
why are we having
minister
this
is the
argument again?
leader of the government.
Why are
You
we
accept
having-
that?
Why are we having this argument?
No, you introduced
the
that.
government consists of three branches.
We will never agree.
I know we won't.
All right, so let's take a break. We'll come right back after these messages.